Welcome to the middle of nowhere. Tonight, we'll be taking a very slow, very quiet, one full day tour through one of the most alive places on Earth, the Amazon rainforest. Alright, everybody here? Good. If you're still half asleep, that's normal. It's 5 AM and we're in the Amazon. No one's winning today. My name doesn't matter. I'll be your guide. Try not to wander off. We're going to move slow, not because we're lazy, but because everything out here wants you to trip over it. Roots, vines, snakes, all part of the charm. If you came for action, you booked the wrong tour. If you came to quietly stare at oversized bugs and trees older than your country, you're in for a treat. Alright, boat's just ahead. Watch your step on the dock. That moss will put you in the river faster than anything with teeth. We're heading out early for a reason. It's cooler now. Barely. The sun's not up yet, but the forest doesn't wait for us. It's already awake, just pretending not to notice. Go ahead and sit anywhere. Doesn't matter. It's all wet. That's the Amazon River you're looking at. Second longest in the world. Carries more water than the next 7 rivers combined. So if it feels big, it is. Don't drop anything overboard unless you're okay saying goodbye to it forever. We'll be on the river for a bit before cutting inland. Should stay quiet while we're moving. Sound carries out here. Not that anything really cares we're here, but just in case. That tree there, tall one with the roots flared out at the bottom, that's a kapok. Some of them hit 200 feet easy. Locals call them trees that reach the sky, which is fair. They don't seem interested in stopping. That screech you just heard, screaming piha, one of the loudest birds in the world. Doesn't look like much, but it hits over 100 decibels when it's in the mood, which it usually is. Up on that branch, see that silhouette? Might be a toucan. Could also be a pile of leaves. Hard to tell from here. Birds around here know how to disappear even when they're right in front of you. The vines hanging from that tree, those are lianas. They're not decorations. They climb trees to get to the sunlight, and sometimes strangle whatever in the way. Survival, rainforest style. If you see any movement up there, it's probably a capuchin. Small monkey, smarter than most people I meet. They've figured out tools, teamwork and theft, especially theft. Yes, that's a dragonfly. No, it won't bite you. It just wants to look important. Under the boat, thousands of fish. Some are harmless, some have personality, but we will hit on that later. This section of the river is usually calm in the morning. Sometimes the dolphins come up around here. Yes, they're real, yes, they're pink. No, I don't know why. Evolution doesn't take questions. Everything you see right now, trees, water, sky, it all runs on time older than we understand. This forest has been here for about 55 million years. It'll be here long after us. We'll ride the river a little while longer. Once we hit the bend, we'll head inland. That's when it gets darker, louder, and more personal. But for now, just let the current do the work. Alright, we're cruising steady now. If the boat feels like it's drifting sideways, that's just the current arguing with the engine. They'll sort it out. This section of the river opens up a bit. You'll notice the water looks different depending on where we go. Some parts are white water, not like rapids, just full of sediment. Cloudy, beige, kind of like wet cement that gave up. Other areas, like this one, are black water. Looks like tea. That's from all the decaying leaves. It's not dirty, just acidic. Fewer mosquitoes, oddly enough. Not enough nutrients in it to support their kind of party. If you ever see water that's crystal clear out here, it's probably trouble. or someone brought a bottle. Now this river isn't just a river, it's a highway. For animals, for locals, for cargo, whole villages move by boat. No roads, no signs, no GPS, just the bend of the water and memory. We pass a small inlet up here every so often. Sometimes there's a canoe or two tucked under the brush. Usually means there's a trail nearby, or someone's fishing, or sleeping, or both. In the wet season, this whole river rises, floods everything. The forest floor disappears, and the trees look like they're growing straight out of the water. Fish swim between the trunks. Some even breed up there, in the branches. Locals call this time the flooded forest. It's not a disaster. It's just Tuesday. They build houses on stilts, or they move, or they wait it out with a hammock and better stories than ours. In the dry season, the river drops again, exposes sandbanks, roots, things that weren't supposed to be found. Navigation gets trickier then. More logs, more tight turns, more chances to get stuck. If you're wondering how people figure out where to go in all this, they don't always. Even seasoned boatmen get turned around. But they'll tell you they didn't. Those floating patches ahead, that's water hyacinth. Pretty, invasive, and not especially useful. Clogs up engines, makes steering interesting. If we go quiet for a second, it's because someone's deciding whether to go around it or just pretend it's not there. This river splits and rejoins itself constantly. Thousands of tributaries, oxbow lakes, dead-end channels. It doesn't follow a plan, it just spreads. Out here, the shortest distance between 2 points is never a straight line. It's a winding, muddy, tree shadow negotiation. There's a saying locals use, loosely translated, the river goes where it wants, you're just borrowing it. They're not wrong. We'll stay on this main channel a little longer. Once we reach the fork ahead, we'll start cutting in. There's a spot near the bank where we can step off and walk. If it's muddy, that's normal. If it's not, that's suspicious. Keep an eye out for movement in the trees. They usually see us before we see them. But that's how it works out here. The road's alive, and it remembers who's paying attention. If you were thinking about going for a swim, now's a good time to change your mind. This part of the river's calm, but the list of things beneath the surface that don't want company is long. Let's start with the obvious one, piranhas. Yes, they're here. Yes, they have teeth. No, they're not rabid little blenders. They mostly eat smaller fish, fruits, and the occasional mistake. They don't like wasting energy, unless you're bleeding and flailing around, in which case, you've made a very loud invitation. There are around 30 species of piranha in the Amazon. Some are more bark than bite, others are just bite. Locals still swim in these waters, but they know where and when. That makes the difference. Next up, electric eels. They don't look like much, just long brown tubes in the water, but they can deliver shocks up to 600 volts. Not enough to kill a healthy adult, but enough to ruin your day, and possibly the next 3. They use the electricity for navigation, hunting, and self-defense. Efficient little batteries with bad tempers. Now freshwater stingrays. They're well camouflaged, usually just a shadow on the riverbed. If you step on one, it'll drive a venomous spine into your foot or ankle. Pain's the main feature, not death, just a deep desire for it until it wears off. People around here shuffle when they walk through shallow water, not because they're lazy, because they want to keep their feet. Then there's the kangaroo, small, nearly invisible, infamous for the one thing it's rumoured to do, You've probably heard the story. I won't repeat it. I will say this. It's rare. Very rare. But rare doesn't mean imaginary. And if nothing else, it's a good reason to treat the river with respect. And maybe wear pants. Farther up the river, not here, you'd find the payara, also called the vampire fish. They have 2 fangs that stick out of their lower jaw like someone filed down kitchen knives and said, "Good enough." They feed on other fish at high speeds. Not dangerous to people, unless you happen to be shaped like a fish. Last one I'll mention for now, the black caiman. We'll probably see one later near the banks. They're massive, 15 feet on average. They wait, they watch, and they don't mind the dark. They're not aggressive without reason. But they don't need much of one either. You'll notice a pattern. Most of the things out here don't chase you. They just sit and hope you're careless. The Amazon doesn't run on chaos. It runs on patience. And it's very, very good at waiting. Alright, yeah, we're pulling in here, right? Stay seated until the boat's steady. The shoreline doesn't look like much, but it'll take your shoe and pretend it never saw it. We're going to tie off to that root. Okay, step carefully. The ground's solid enough, in theory. If it squishes, that's normal. If it bubbles, let me know. This is the jungle floor. You're officially in it now. From here on, the forest decides how things go. It's cooler under the canopy, but not by much. The humidity just switches from air to steam. You'll notice the light changes too. It gets filtered through 3 layers of leaves before it reaches us. That's why it feels like early evening all day long. Watch your head. Those are buttress roots sticking out of that tree. They help support the tall trees and catch nutrients from the thin soil. They're also great for tripping over if you're not paying attention. We'll follow this path here. It's not official, just the path of least resistance. Out here, that's good enough. The first thing you'll probably notice is the sound, or lack of it. No wind, no real movement, just insects and the occasional bird doing its best to be dramatic. The forest feels still, but it isn't. You're being watched. Not in a paranoid way, in the way that everything here has eyes and none of it blinks. That tree over there might look like it has vines growing around it. It doesn't. That's a strangler fig. It wraps around host trees and slowly squeezes the life out of them. Takes years. Efficient. Cruel. Quietly impressive. We'll keep moving. That crunch under your boot? Not a leaf. Probably a beetle casing. They shed. The ground collects everything out here. You won't see much wildlife yet. They're here, but they're better at this than we are. You might see movement in the corner of your eye. A tail, a flash of colour, maybe a wing. That's about all you get. The forest doesn't show off. It just keeps going. We'll take this bend up ahead. It gets narrower, and the roots get worse, but the view opens up once we reach the clearing. Watch your step on this log. If it looks like it could be a snake, just let me go first. Keep close here. The trail narrows. You'll notice the air's heavier now. That's normal. There's less breeze, less light, and more layers between you and whatever's out there breathing. This is the forest floor, the part most people picture but don't really understand. Out here, leafcutter ants have highways. You'll see them crossing the trail if you look down. Single file. No nonsense. Each one carries a piece of leaf over its head like it has somewhere to be. They're not eating them. They're taking them home to grow fungus. It's agriculture. Underground. Smarter than most city planning. Step over their path. If you step on it, they'll rebuild it. They're patient, but I wouldn't make a habit of testing them. That soft orange growth on that log over there, that's a bracket fungus. Break it, and it'll release spores that hang in the air longer than your good decisions. That root you just nearly tripped on, not your fault. They're everywhere. Some are part of the tree above. Others belong to something you'll never see. That low rustling sound could be a lizard, could be the wind. Except there's no wind down here. Camouflage is the law here. Everything blends in. Some animals mimic leaves. Some mimic bark. Some just stand still long enough that even your eyes give up. That muddy patch up ahead, yeah, avoid that. It's not deep, but it smells like it remembers something bad. Look up at that branch just above eye level. See the still shape with the wide head? Eyelash viper, bright yellow, almost pretty, but it'll strike if you get too close. Like most things here, it doesn't want a fight, but it won't apologize for one either. On the left there, see that pile of leaves twitching? That's not wind. That's a frog that doesn't know it's being watched. Or it does. Hard to tell. There's a term researchers use, cryptic behavior. Means animals that stay hidden not by fleeing but by being part of the background. It works. You're surrounded right now, and you wouldn't know it. The forest at ground level isn't loud. It's not in a rush, but it's always watching, even when it looks empty. Keep your steps quiet. Everything else already is. Stop here a moment, not for the view, just to let your body catch up with how uncomfortable it is. This is where it sets in. The heat, the weight of the air, the slow realization that your shirt has fused with your spine. If you're wondering whether it's normal to be this sweaty by mid-morning, it is. The rainforest doesn't dry you off, it just redistributes the moisture. Now hold still. You've got 3 mosquitoes on your neck. Make that 4, you'll get used to it, or you won't. Either way, they're not waiting for your consent. There are over 3,000 species of mosquitoes in the world. The Amazon has too many of them. Some carry things: malaria, dengue, Zika, yellow fever. But most just want a quick meal and a little chaos. Nothing personal. Bug spray helps, but only for the first 10 minutes. After that, it's mostly for morale. Locals use smoke, or long sleeves, or just accept that itching is now part of the experience. You'll also start noticing sandflies, smaller, faster, and more spiteful. They don't buzz. They don't warn you. They just take what they want and leave you with questions. There's also something called the botfly. Look it up later, preferably not while eating. You might feel the urge to scratch. Try not to. The bites won't kill you, but the bacteria under your fingernails might make things interesting. That low hum in your ear, that's not a hallucination. It's just the jungle singing its favourite song. You chose to come here. And no, it doesn't stop at night. That's when the no-see-ums show up. They're not named for their creativity. They're just small and committed. That's the thing about the rainforest. It's not trying to punish you. It just doesn't care how delicate you are. We'll keep walking soon. Dehydration's coming up around the bend, followed by a solid stretch of existential reflection. But for now, take a breath, sip some water, and if you're wearing cotton, regret that decision in silence. This stretch is all roots and shadows. Slow down. The ground dips here, and the soil holds water longer than it should. Look up ahead. That thin tree with the fan of leaves at the top, that's Cecropia. Fast-growing, light wood. Usually one of the first trees to pop up after a disturbance. It's basically the opportunist of the forest. Doesn't live long, but while it's around, it feeds everything. Birds, ants, sloths, even the occasional bat. Some Cecropias have deals with Azteca ants. The tree gives them hollow stems and food, and the ants protect it from anything trying to chew on its leaves. They swarm fast, very fast, so maybe don't lean on that one. To your right, that darker, thicker trunk feels like it's made of stone. That's probably ironwood, dense enough to sink in water, takes forever to rot, which is great, unless you're the one trying to cut it down. Locals use it for things they don't want to rebuild later. That sound up in the branches, that creaking, not wind. That's a balsa tree shifting under its own weight. Surprisingly light considering the height. Used to be carved into rafts and insulation. Now it mostly just leans dramatically and drops things on people who stand too long under it. This twisted one on the left, with the bark flaking off in strips, that's probably a cannonball tree. Not for the bark. For the fruit. Big, round, and hard enough to knock you out cold if it falls. It also smells like fermented onions when it ripens. So, not exactly a crowd favourite. You'll start to notice some trees lean instead of growing straight. That's not a defect, it's phototropism. Plants bending toward the light. The ones that don't adapt disappear. Now look at the forest floor again. See the little plants with narrow leaves arranged in spirals? That's heliconia. It looks delicate, but it holds its own. Bright flowers, waxy leaves. And it's one of the favourites for hummingbirds, which we might hear before we see. The bark here varies wildly. Some trees shed it to prevent fungus. Others have thick, scaly armour to keep insects out. You can tell how many problems a tree has just by running your hand along the trunk, though I'd recommend not doing that unless you enjoy mystery rashes. Every plant out here is making calculations. Where to grow, what to block, how much to give, and how much to fight back. They're not passive. They're just subtle. We'll cut through this patch of denser trees now. Next stretch gets a little more open, not because it's safe, just because fewer things are growing there for reasons we usually find out too late. This part of the forest has predators. You won't see them. That's not how they work. Start with the jaguar, top of the chain out here. Can weigh up to 200 pounds. Climbs, swims, stalks in near silence. Its bite is strong enough to crack turtle shells. And it doesn't need to chase. It waits. It watches. Then it ends things quickly. People almost never see them in the wild. The ones who do are either very lucky or standing somewhere they shouldn't be. That set of tracks in the mud there. Wide, padded, toe marks spread. Could be jaguar, a ocelot, or puma. Plenty of cats in the forest. All of them quiet. All of them confident. We'll follow the trail to the left. Stay off the prints. Someone's path. No reason to ruin it. In the underbrush we've got anacondas. Not the kind from movies. The real ones don't chase boats or eat helicopters. They sit in shallow water, wait for something to step too close, and then decide if it's worth the effort. They're ambush predators. They don't roar. They don't gloat. They just squeeze until there's no argument left. Further ahead in these swampier patches, there's the bushmaster, a large venomous snake. Doesn't move unless it has to, but when it does it moves fast. Their venom won't kill instantly, but it's not a conversation you want to have with your bloodstream. You might feel watched here, not paranoid, just accurate. This is where the silence has weight, where every footstep feels too loud. Most people think danger means noise. The rainforest doesn't believe in warnings. Eyes up. Not all the way to the top, just above head height. This is the middle layer, roughly 15 to 30 feet off the ground. Dense, twisted, loud in its own way. You'll see vines connecting trees at odd angles. They're not just hanging there. They're highways, monkeys, snakes. Even some birds use them like ladders and bridges. Some of the vines are lianas anchored in the soil but climbing toward the light. Others are epiphytes, plants growing on trees instead of in dirt. They're not parasites. They just don't like sharing real estate with fungi. There, movement on that branch, saddleback tamarins, probably tiny monkeys, about the size of a squirrel, with oddly serious faces. They move in bursts. Stop, listen, bolt again. You'll only get a few seconds to spot them. Listen for rustling clusters. Could be a troop of squirrel monkeys. They travel in groups of 20 to 40, sometimes more. Highly social, highly chaotic. Their version of cooperation looks like coordinated looting. That's a spiny tree on your right. Sharp ridges all along the trunk and lower limbs. Stops anything from climbing it that doesn't mean it. If you see one with small platforms cut into the bark, that's not natural. Some animals use them. So do people. But they rarely ask first. Look at the undersides of branches. You might spot tree frogs. Bright colours, wide feet, often completely still. Some have toxins in their skin. Not enough to hurt you by looking, but enough to discourage licking. Not that you were planning to. See those thin sticks poking out horizontally from the trunk? Not sticks. That's walking stick insects. Some stretch over a foot long. They don't hide by running. They just never stop pretending to be something else. Now, that cluster of leaves bunched up like a weird basket. Could be a weaver bird nest. Could also be a resting snake. Either way, it's not yours to touch. In this layer, nothing stays in one place long, unless it's waiting, or digesting. We'll be cutting through a narrow section up ahead where the branches hang low. They'll brush your shoulders. That's fine. Just try not to grab anything that grabs back. Now tilt your head up again, all the way. That's the canopy, top floor of the forest. You won't see much from down here, but they're up there. Thousands of birds. Some are singing, some are hunting. Most are ignoring us completely. Start with the obvious. Toucans, big beaks, impossible colour schemes, voices that sound like hiccups in a metal pipe. Their bills aren't heavy. They're mostly air. Good for reaching fruit. Not great for looking serious. You'll hear macaws soon. Loudest thing with feathers. They travel in pairs or small groups, screaming at each other like someone's losing a board game. Smart birds. Mate for life. Eat clay from riverbanks to detox their diet. Also known for biting camera lenses and removing earrings they weren't offered. Look toward the brighter gaps in the leaves. That's where you might spot a plumbeous kite or a laughing falcon. They sit still for long stretches, then dive with a speed that's hard to track. They don't announce themselves. They just pick something small and end its day. See that flash of electric blue near the top? Might be a motmot, tail shaped like a pendulum, body like a paint spill. They nest in tunnels, dig into riverbanks and live underground, like introverts with good taste. Somewhere above there's probably a harpy eagle. Top predator in the canopy. 5-inch claws, built like a flying door. Hunts monkeys and sloths. Hardly ever seen. Mostly because if it wanted to be seen, it wouldn't be hunting properly. Listen for clicks, whistles, and the occasional honk. That's not a goose. That's just someone trying to be noticed. Cotingas, manakins, paradise tanagers. Birds here don't do subtle. They're neon, noisy, and in most cases shaped like they were assembled without instructions. The calls aren't coordinated. There's no dawn chorus like you get in temperate zones. Just individual arguments layered on top of each other, and somehow it works. If one falls silent, something's probably hunting. Otherwise they stay busy, Courting, feeding, faking importance. You'll hear wings overhead now and then. Vast, hollow flaps. That's not one bird. That's 10 of them leaving before they know why. We'll stop here a minute. You won't see the birds clearly. The canopy's too high. But you'll hear them. Every voice layered on another. All of them alive. None of them interested in us. That's the thing about birds here. They don't pose. They just do what they've always done. Loudly, colourfully, and on their own schedule. Now for my favourite layer of the forest. This layer's where the real personalities live. Start with the sloth. If you see one, congratulations. They don't move much, and when they do, it's usually to change the angle they're being disappointing from. Three-toed sloths are the common ones here. Greenish tint from algae that grows in their fur. They sleep 18 hours a day, move like a screensaver, and come down from the trees once a week to defecate. Why only once a week? Nobody knows. Risky move, considering everything that eats things on the ground. Still, it works for them. They've been doing it longer than we've had shoes. Look up near that vine cluster. Movement. Could be a group of howler monkeys. Big lungs. Big voices. You'll hear them at dawn, even miles away. They're not angry, just conversational at a volume that ruins mornings. Then there's spider monkeys. Long limbs, prehensile tails, no thumbs. They move like overconfident gymnasts, always leaping, rarely looking down. If one drops fruit near you, it wasn't an accident. That's commentary. The smaller ones, those are probably marmosets. High-pitched calls, big eyes, and a personal space bubble of 0. They snack constantly and travel in pairs or trios like gossipy scouts. Now if you see a monkey staring directly at you, holding something that used to be yours, that's a capuchin, smartest of the bunch. Use tools, memorize faces, test boundaries. If you see one holding a water bottle, that's not enrichment. That's theft. You'll sometimes find squirrel monkeys tagging along with capuchins. Not friends exactly, more like opportunistic co-workers. They all watch us from above. Not out of fear, more curiosity. We're slow. We wear too much gear. We smell like bug spray and mistakes. The branches overhead act like bridges. These animals barely touch the ground their entire lives. Everything they need, food, sleep, gossip, it's all in the trees. We'll keep walking under them now. Try not to look too threatening. They know who belongs out here, and who's just passing through. Slow your pace up here, not because anything's chasing you, just because the plants up ahead are a little more opinionated. See that cluster with the bright red stems? That's a nettle variant. Tiny hollow hairs. Brush against them and you'll feel it for a couple hours. No venom, just mechanical revenge. Like being poked by 400 tiny glass syringes with no bedside manner. This next one, tall and leafy with small white flowers. Brugmansia. Locals call it angel's trumpet. Looks nice. It's not. Contains powerful alkaloids, used in medicine, rituals, and occasionally, bad decisions. Touching it won't hurt you. But don't go chewing on anything unless you're looking to hallucinate and forget your own name. Now look to the bark on your left. Smooth, light grey, slightly peeling. That's quinine bark. Used to be the go-to treatment for malaria. Still used in small doses, even in tonic water. And if it tastes bitter, that's the point. Most things that help you out here aren't sweet about it. This vine wrapped around the tree, don't touch. It's stinging vine. Distant cousin to nettle, but more persistent. One brush, and it'll itch for hours. Some versions even cause numbness. The kind of plant that ruins a good afternoon with no real effort. That round fruit up high, hanging in pairs, that's guava, safe to eat, if you're lucky enough to find one not half devoured by parrots. Fruit doesn't stay on the ground long out here. If it does, something's wrong with it. Step carefully here. See the long, flat pods scattered on the trail? Mimosa seeds. Fell from a nearby tree. The leaves on the plant itself close when touched. Some people think it's shy. It's not. It's just trying to reduce surface area before something eats it. That sharp bark on the right belongs to a sandbox tree, also known as the dynamite tree. Its seed pods can explode with enough force to injure anything nearby. It doesn't happen often, but if you hear a loud pop and feel seeds bouncing off your forehead, that's probably why. The forest doesn't rely on animals to spread seeds politely. It launches them, poisons intruders, negotiates with fungi, makes its own rules. Out here, plant-based isn't always a comfort. We'll pass through this grove and start heading toward the deeper trails. Next section has fewer leaves you can eat and more stories you probably shouldn't test. We're walking through territory now that's been lived in for thousands of years, not carved, not cleared, just lived in. This section is used sometimes by a local community. You won't see anyone, they're too far upriver, but their presence is in the way the trail stays open, in the way certain trees are left standing, in the way we don't touch things we don't understand. There are over 400 indigenous tribes in the Amazon basin. Many still live in forest settlements, away from roads. Some speak languages that aren't related to any others on Earth. Not dialects, entire families of language, developed in isolation, like everything else out here. That tree there, the one with the blackened bark and a notch cut into the side. It's tapped for resin, used in torches, sealants, sometimes medicine. The cut's clean, shallow, done with a machete by someone who knew what they were asking for and what they weren't. Plants that Western medicine considers experimental. Used here for generations, for parasites, for fever, for pain. Measured by the handful, applied with belief. No lab, just observation passed through memory. There's a root some tribes use for snakebite, a flower for grief, bark for toothaches. You'll see these ingredients again, just repackaged, renamed, placed on pharmacy shelves. Stories go further. Some say the forest spirits don't show themselves unless you're quiet enough to hear them breathing. Others say the river remembers who's crossed it without asking. There are names that aren't spoken after dark, birds that shouldn't be followed, voices that echo back wrong. You don't have to believe any of it, but you also don't have to test it. See that small post stuck in the ground there with red twine around it? That's not trash. That's a marker. Could be a boundary. Could be a warning. We step around it, not over it. The people here don't conquer the forest. They don't fence it off. They don't flatten it. They listen to it. They live in it because they understand they're not in charge. Everything is borrowed. We'll keep moving. Trail curves gently ahead, deeper into the quiet. There's a place we'll stop for the night. Just a small clearing with enough space to rest. Nothing fancy, but it's safe. And the fire keeps the insects honest. Almost there. All right, slow your steps here. Not because of the terrain, because the light's changing. This is dusk in the rainforest. The hour where everything moves one layer deeper. The birds start to fade out. The insects start to rise, and the shadows forget their shapes. You'll feel a drop in temperature soon. Not much, just enough to notice. The humidity doesn't leave. It just settles closer to the ground. That call overhead, soft chirping and then a wobble, tree crickets, one starts then a dozen, no harmony, just overlap. Farther in, you'll hear the start of the cicadas, different from the ones back home, higher pitched. Shorter bursts, it sounds less like summer, more like static being tuned live. Over there, see the faint green flicker between the trunks? That's a click beetle. They don't bite, they just glow. No one's sure why they light up exactly. Might be for mating, might be a warning, might be boredom. Branches sway a little more now. Not wind, just the larger creatures waking up. Things that rest during the day and eat during the question marks between moon phases. We'll pass through this narrow stretch. Careful where you step. Tree roots cross the trail here like they're playing defense. That low hum in the background is building. Frogs. Dozens. Most of them the size of your thumb. Some with calls so loud you'd expect a much bigger voice. They don't show themselves right away, but they're all clocking in for the night shift. We're nearly at camp. You'll start to see the tree line open up soon. The forest doesn't really go to sleep. It just trades faces. Daylight disappears. And the ones who don't like being seen start moving through. Dusk is short here. One moment there's gold light between the branches. Next moment, it's gone. We'll make fire soon. Just enough to light the edge of the dark. Not to fight it, just to remind it we're here. Alright, this is it. Camp's just ahead. You'll see the fire ring near that fallen log. We'll set things up quiet. The forest already knows we're here. Night in the Amazon isn't still. It just runs on a different kind of motion. You don't see it. You hear it. And sometimes you feel it before you know what it is. Set your gear down here. Nothing too close to the brush. If it's warm and smells like food, it won't be yours by morning. Sit low if you're going to sit at all. The fire won't be large. Now listen. That high-pitched trill bouncing from tree to tree, that's a glass frog. Translucent skin, bones you can see through. Its organs pulse in rhythm with the night. Most people never notice them. That's the point. Off to the left, deep slow croaks in twos. Could be a Suriname toad. Flat, camouflaged and patient. It carries its eggs in its back. They hatch straight through the skin when they're ready. No nest, no ceremony. Just new life, emerging silently in the dark. You'll notice the fireflies now, different kinds than the ones up north. Some blink steady, others pulse fast like coded messages you were never meant to understand. Watch that leaf, the faint glow along the edges. Bioluminescent fungus. Grows on dead wood mostly, not dangerous. Just a quiet reminder that even decay puts on a show here. You might hear clicking near your feet. Not metal, katydids. They rub their wings together, not for music, just to mark space. They're not warning you. They're warning each other. The dark here is total. No distant city lights. No planes overhead. No helpful glow from anything artificial. The moon filters through the canopy when it wants to. But tonight it's taking its time. We'll keep the fire going until it settles, and we won't be alone. But that's never been the deal. The fire's holding steady. Good. We'll keep our voices low, not that anything's listening, or if it is, it's not planning to answer. There are things in this forest that don't show up in books, not because they're imaginary, because they don't stick around long enough to be studied. Some animals here have only been recorded once. A flash of feathers, a blurry photo, one set of tracks in the mud that nobody ever found again. Scientists call them cryptic species. Locals call them you should have looked faster. There's a bird they talk about upriver, Small, black, with red wings and a call like snapping wood. No photos, no name. Just a sound people swear they've heard and never again. Same with a type of ground-dwelling cat. Seen only at dusk, always alone. Leaves no prints anyone can follow. Some think it's a variant of jaguarundi. Some say it isn't a cat at all. There's also a snake, pale green, with a ridge of bony spines along its back, said to appear only during the first rains, venomous, or maybe just rare. Either way, the people who've seen it don't go looking for it again. Even some of the insects only show up once. A beetle with no known match. A moth the size of a dinner plate with wings like moss. A spider that glows, but only when it's hunting. That's the rule here. If it doesn't want to be found, it won't be. No matter how many guides, drones, or field notes you bring, the forest doesn't reveal itself because you asked nicely. It does so on its own time, and usually not more than once. Some say there are tribes that have never been seen. Not uncontacted, just unseen. No trails, no smoke. Just the feeling that you're being passed by something that has better things to do. People sometimes ask why we don't document more, why we don't find these creatures again. But out here you don't pursue the rare. You notice it, then you let it go. The things that don't want to be found, they're not lost, they're just not waiting for us. You ever notice how the forest repeats itself? Same trees, same vines, same turns. Until you realise none of them are the same, they just stop trying to impress you. Out here, disorientation doesn't feel dramatic. It feels like you're still on the trail, until the trail isn't a trail anymore. Compass readings shift depending on what's buried nearby. GPS cuts out under thick canopy. Even the sun hides behind leaves so broad they turn the sky into a guessing game. There was a research assistant once, followed a marked path 50 yards into a new clearing, turned back, and couldn't find the entrance. Took us 3 hours to reach him. He was 10 minutes from camp the entire time. The thing is, the forest doesn't look different when you're lost. That's what makes it hard. You stop recognizing things, but nothing looks wrong. You stop hearing familiar birds. You stop hearing anything useful. Then you start hearing everything. Some people mark trees, tape, cuts, carvings. But the forest absorbs that. Growth swallows ribbon. Sap covers scrapes. Bark heals. The only sure thing is memory, and that has a short battery out here. Locals say the forest folds around you when it wants to. Not malicious. Just correcting your overconfidence. There are stories of people disappearing for days, then reappearing within sight of where they started. No explanation, no injuries. Just a different look in their eyes. You'll hear the term green blindness. It means your eyes stop processing detail. Too many shades, too much repetition. Everything starts to flatten. Even time. It's not panic that gets you, it's overconfidence. The belief that you're the one in control. You're not. None of us are. That's why we mark the turns. That's why we stop before the light drops too low. That's why we don't wander, even if we think we're just stepping off for a moment. Because the forest doesn't lose you. It just waits for you to realise you've lost yourself. The fire's burned down lower now. You can hear it. Not crackling, just settling. Soft, slow breaks in the wood. Like the forest is chewing on its last thought for the night. You don't need to move anymore. You're already where you need to be. Pack's nearby. Boots are off. There's no trail left to follow. The river's still there, just beyond the trees. You can't see it now, but you'll hear it if you listen between the frogs. It doesn't rush, doesn't pull, just flows. You've made it through all of it. The heat, the noise, the stillness, the eyes you never found. This is the part where the forest lets go. Or maybe this is the part where you do, everyone out here has gone quiet now. The birds, the insects, even the monkeys gave up their commentary a while ago. All that's left is the sound of things that don't need attention anymore. That's what night does here. Not sleep, just stillness. You'll breathe slower now. That's normal. The body listens to the dark. Nothing else is expected of you. You don't have to think. You don't have to watch. You don't even have to listen if your thoughts are already somewhere else. So if you're ready, lay back and let the flames take it from here.